Hi, welcome to my thoughts vlog for this week. It's Saturday, 30th of August 2025. Firstly, a couple of apologies. I'm sorry I didn't get around to doing one of these last week. As you may remember from previous episodes, I moved. And yeah, this is my new place. As you can see, the backdrop is slightly different to what it was last few weeks. Well, I'd say slightly different, it's completely different. I tried to find the time to do one on the Friday, the Saturday of the actual move, the Sunday and the Monday, but you know how it is when you move, it's just, couldn't find the time, because we were still responsible for our old property until yesterday, really, when we gave the keys back, so, just been to and fro and stuff, so yeah, pretty tired, but I'm glad to be finally doing one of these again. Now, obviously a move is quite a stressful thing, and yeah, it's been crazy, but I wanted to have a general chat about mental health, especially when you sort of are within the community that I'm in. I think for me and many of our campaigners, I generally think there's three types of mental stress and trauma associated with what we do and who we are. Firstly, there's the stress and mental trauma of just being a nuclear test veteran or descendant. Obviously, you've got either you're stressing about your own health and your own worries, and even if you haven't got health conditions, you're worrying about what the future will hold, because you may develop something at any time. You're also worried about family members, your children may have issues, as obviously my son has a genetic issue, and that in itself, you're constantly worried. You're worried about, yes, okay, my son has one issue, but what's around the corner? A lot of conditions come out in adolescence, so is that something that's going to happen? That keeps me awake at night, it really does, because you've then got the added pressure of guilt, because I chose to bring him into the world. I knew I was a nuclear test veteran descendant. Yeah, my fault. That is quite hard to deal with at times. And then there's the stress associated with not knowing and the withholding of stuff by the government and the MOD that could potentially give you answers and help you get support. It's frustration, it's banging your head against a brick wall, it's trying to get help and not managing, trying to get people to listen. You go to the doctors and say, my father was a nuclear test veteran, and he's like, and? I've stopped actually saying it now, because there's no point. My GP's made it perfectly clear they're not dealing with anything to do with that, not entertaining it. Even when I've written letters asking for their help, the letters go unanswered. It's upsetting, because isn't your GP there to help you? You ask for help and you don't get it. Got to ask why. Are they being lent on by the MOD? Call me paranoid, but I do sometimes wonder. So, yeah, the government adds to the stress, because they're not releasing records, they're not doing anything to help. Yes, they're doing a review, but they're dragging their heels. How long have we got to wait for answers? I mean, what are they? They've been doing this for 6 months, they must have found something. We'll see, hopefully. And then there's the last set of mental traumas and stress, and that, it doesn't apply to everyone, but it's anyone that campaigns. I mean, I'm going wider than just the nuclear test veteran campaign and lab rats, etc. I'm talking about the group that I'm in with the Hillsborough law. I represent us nuclear test veterans and descendants within the Hillsborough Law Now campaign, which is really important. And I see in there, when the groups are chatting, we have representatives from all the groups in like a WhatsApp group, and you can see There are days when some people are having a wobble when news isn't great. They've had a knockback, and you can see some real anguish and trauma. And it's quite sad, but I guess the point of all this is, yes, there's trauma and there's stress, but it's reach out for help, get some support. I'm not ashamed to say that I am. That's starting soon, actually. But the WhatsApp group that I mentioned for Hillsborough now, that's something as simple as that is a great sense of security and support by like-minded people. And yeah, I know I've put things in there when I've been having a bit of a stressor, and the community does come round you and put its arms around you and help. And it's the same, with the nuclear test veterans. If you're struggling, reach out either to your GP, hopefully they're better than mine. I'm sure Lab Rats International can help point you in the right direction or offer support. Family members, let them know, because no one should be struggling alone, and you might be surprised if you confide in a family member. They might think, well, I've been thinking the same things, and then you get that help and support by just being in that together. But these are difficult times, especially as the campaign is gathering momentum and going further than it's been before, and it's a case of, it's difficult, but look after yourself. Never ever be ashamed of admitting that you're struggling, because, to be honest, it's the strong people that admit when they're not having a good one. That takes courage, and it's something that you've got to do for your own well-being. Yeah, so like I say, look after yourself. Really look after yourself. But I'll end on a nicer note, shall we? And just say that it's lovely and peaceful and quiet here. It's something that is great. And I think that is going to help me personally a lot, because I'm now in a different place. I'm more comfortable with my home life, and that, believe it or not, something like that just makes everything else a little bit easier to deal with. Simple thing, I can get my wheelchair in the house. Never could before. And that makes life easier and safer. So sometimes it's just the little things that can help make things a bit better. Anyway, as I say, look after yourself, and thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next week. Thanks, bye-bye.